Hello friends, welcome. Friends, everybody knows that yesterday the government of India released the uh, the press note for the second advanced estimate of national income 2023-24 and the quarterly estimate of gross domestic product of the third quarter, that is October to December 2023-24. Right. So if you look at this file, this is the file that the government of India came out with all the numbers. Now, before friends, I go through this presentation, I would like to just quickly say that this is not a scripted presentation, and I have not written any script for this presentation. And just bear with me today. I am not feeling very well. My voice is not good, so hope that I will be able to do justice to this presentation. Okay, so what is the idea about this presentation? So let's understand this. See friends, when you look at these standalone numbers in a PDF sheet like this, you may not be able to get any insight, because there are reports in the press which talks about that the growth for the quarter 3 GDP number, right, for the constant GDP number for at 2011-12 price has been stupendous, right? So the numbers are thrown in front of you. So because we have Q1, Q2, Q3, and you see, look at these GDP numbers, 8.4%, 8.1%. So they look pretty good. I'm not basically criticizing these numbers. I want you to give you the insight as to why these numbers look as they, so that you are able to understand the nuances of these numbers. And it is extremely important to understand the nuances, because these standalone numbers do not tell anything. The second thing which is missing in these this particular publication is the estimation of GDP in dollar form. Because when we talk about GDP growth and the projections that we make, that India is going to become a $4 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy, $10 trillion economy, all these numbers are quoted in dollars. And if you look at these are all in rupees, right? So you need to understand the difference between these numbers and the numbers which are quoted in dollars, and how those are extrapolated, and what is that they are telling, what story that it tells, right? Then we will be looking at the projections. Using those numbers, we will be projecting the GDP, how the GDP is going to look forward in time. For that, I have created a tool. I am going to show you the tool, and I will put the link of the tool in the description, so that you can yourself use it and even estimate and do all kinds of experimentation with the tool. Okay. Then I will also like to basically tell you that how I have prepared the data, because it is very important to understand how data preparation works, because without preparation of data, no such analysis makes any sense. Okay. So what I have done is, because all these numbers which are released are on a quarter basis. If you see Q1, Q2, Q3, Q1, Q2. So for the financial year FY22, it is Q1, Q2, Q3. For FY23, Q1, Q2, Q3, like that. Q4 numbers are missing for FY22, FY23 and FY24, or for GDP, GVA, current, nominal, all the numbers are missing. So how do I extrapolate those numbers? Because those numbers are also got revised. I don't know those numbers because these are not there. Before FY22, the numbers are static, which I already have aggregated in my sheet. So what I have done is, I have taken these numbers, the yearly numbers. If you see here, FY22, FY23, FY24, the yearly numbers are given by the government. So what I have done, I have added the quarter numbers for Q1, Q2, Q3 and subtracted this from the yearly numbers to come out with the last Q4 numbers, for the accurate Q4 numbers as per the government revised estimates, first revised estimates for FY22 and FY23 and FY24, which is the advanced estimate. Okay. So these numbers I have aggregated, and I'll show you the sheets where the numbers have been aggregated. You see this sheet? So I have GDP constant, which is on the basis of the 11-12 reference prices, and then the nominal GDP, which I call GDP current, and similarly we have GVA constant and GVA current, and all these numbers have been laid out in this form, right? From starting from 2011 till the end. The last number, as I told you, that these three numbers were not there in the document. So I have extrapolated this number in the manner which I have described. Now this is going to be a very interesting presentation, by the way, because I have not scripted this. I am going to show you two of my tools. One is the Tablo dashboard which I have prepared. Another is a Python based Streamlit application which I have prepared to do specific part of the analysis which I am going to present to you. So let's go, without wasting any time, let's go to the presentation. So if you look at this, this is the Tablo dashboard which I have prepared. So I just put my face in the middle and let's talk about this dashboard. Now the same program has been loaded 2 times and placed side by side. So we have on the left hand side, I plan to show you the absolute numbers. On the right hand side of your screen, I want to show you the growth numbers, right? So that you can see the growth and the absolute numbers side by side. So what I have done is I have picked up GDP constant to start with, which is the reference GDP for the GDP value in rupee terms at 2011-12 prices. And then I have GDP and all the components have been plotted in the dashboard, one by one down below. Similarly here, if you see, the growth numbers are shown, and I have chosen the time series as quarter, right, which is the minimum time series that you can choose because there are only 2 time series, quarter or year. So let's look at the quarter numbers and look at the characteristics of India's GDP growth, how it has changed over the years starting from 2011. Let's look at that first because that is very interesting to look, right? So how do I know how the character of the GDP growth has changed? So you will find that I actually are in the last quarter. Yeah, sorry, let me just change this to all because I can choose quarter by quarter also comparison. So let's do all. So all means all the quarters are displayed simultaneously in the screen. And if I choose quarter one will get displayed simultaneously, quarter 2 like that, right? So there are various options which are available in this tool. I really can't post this tool in the website because the facility does not exist. So I'm going to give you another option which you can use, which is the Streamlit application, which is a web-based application, and you can use it. The code I have written myself, and I'm going to give you that. But let's look at this. This is very interesting. So when I choose all the quarters simultaneously and look at from FY21 Q1 till the last quarter, which is FY24 Q4, which is an extrapolated number, you will find that our GDP growth has become more of a stepped function. Means what happens? Q1 is the lowest, Q4 is the highest, then it goes down, then it goes up, then it goes down, then it goes up, then it goes down, then it... Now this change of stepness of the GDP growth has become more prominent as we have gone ahead in time. Now, how do I know that? Let's go back 16 quarters because I have plotted 16 quarters, so I can go back 16 quarters in that time domain. So I have gone. So look at this, how it has changed now. Do you see the difference? So look at the difference. See that? Now the curve actually moved up, right? Now if I go 16 quarter behind, you will find that it is more linear. But if I do come back 16 quarter in the current time frame, you'll find that it is more step. Now let me go to 32 quarters back, which is going to give you it is more linear. So 32 quarter, 16 quarter, and then the current time, the current reference from 16 quarter. See? So this is a very significant change I see, and I don't know why it is like this. Why the GDP has to go down and then come up, go down and then come up, go down. I'm not very sure. Why in the first quarter our growth will always be less. But probably you will have the answer. Let me tell you the answer. You yourself will be able to see right in this dashboard. You will find that the look at this. Government final consumption expenditure, right? The main GDP growth is dependent on what? Private consumption final expenditure, gross fixed capital formation, government final expenditure, then exports, and then imports are pulling the GDP down. Now, private final consumption expenditure, which is the private sector spend, you will find that it has been more or less same. It has not changed significantly. Let me go 16 quarter back in time. See? there was a rise, starting from FY17, it was rising linearly. But later, the things have become stable. Like late 32 quarters, look at this. It has been rising linearly. But now if we go in the current, time domain, which is 16 quarter, the current 16 quarter, which I can see from FY21 Q1 to FY24, you'll find that this has remained largely stable, which means that the private sector is not making a significant spend, which should be a very important drive for GDP growth, where the numbers have been rising. Look at this. FY22 Q3, 24.3 lakhs. Same number, FY24 Q4 projected numbers, which is 24.3 lakhs. Why should it be like this? We should have the private sector contributing more towards the GDP growth. On the other hand, you will find that the gross fixed capital formation actually has shown a significant jump. And this has been adding significantly to our GDP growth. So GDP growth is bumped up by the capital formation which is happening in the country, right? And that is very, very good. By the way, it is a very good thing. I'm not criticizing it, but I'm just giving you the nuances which you should be looking at why it is happening. The gross fixed capital formation numbers are actually going up. Similarly, the government final consumption expenditures also have been showing rise. And why these fourth quarter numbers are getting bumped up? You look at this. Always you will find that the government final consumption expenditure numbers are always higher in the last quarter. See, Q4. And that is giving a sense of a stepped nature of our GDP growth, which is a very significant thing to understand first, right? Why it is stepped? Why the stepness? So this number is always in the last quarter. Why it is like that? You yourself can tell. I can't tell, because if the government is making the numbers, announcing the numbers, and this is also a very significant number, 5.2 lakh crores, 5.1 lakh crores. The numbers are going down till FYQ3 and then suddenly going up. See, almost similar trend, and this trend has been more marked in the last financial year, which is FY24. Now, you look at the exports also, you will find that the export numbers have been steadily increasing. So is the import numbers. And this is also very significant. Exports are increasing, but we are not getting benefit out of the increase of export because imports are pulling the GDP numbers down. In a GDP calculation, if anybody wants to understand, everything from the top, that is from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these are all additive numbers, and exports are subtractive. So if you add these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then after that you have to subtract the imports to get this final number here. So that is where the issue is, that exports though are increasing, but imports are pulling the numbers down, right? And these absolute numbers are very important to understand, because the growth numbers are very, very misleading, and very important to understand is why this is misleading. I'll tell you the reason why, which is you have to understand. Now, let's look at the growth numbers, because I have plotted the absolute numbers on this side, on the left hand side of the screen, and the growth numbers on the right hand side of the screen, right? So let's look at the GDP growth numbers. So you'll find that the FY24 Q3 projection is 8.4% growth. That is the growth that the government of India has announced. And why it is like that? Because if you look at FY24 Q3, which is 43.7 lakh crores, is compared with what to calculate this percentage? This number, 40.3. So this is a lower base. Now, if it is a lower base, naturally it is going to give a higher growth indication, because it is a step function. It's more of a step, you're climbing the stairs, it's climbing the stairs. So higher the value of the stair compared to the earlier stair, the growth is going to be higher. So it is important for the government to ensure that this number is higher, that is 46.4 is significantly higher than 43.8, which probably is not. Why? Because the growth number for FY24 Q4 is only 5.9%. This is what the projection as per the government numbers. I am not making it up, because what I have done is that I have taken the whole year numbers, subtracted this, and then came out with this number. Right? Now, if you look at this number, the final number, you will find that all the effort is being done to pull the number higher. Well, how? Gross fixed capital formation number is 16.3 lakh crores. Though the private sector numbers are projected lower, 23.5 24.3 lakh crore, which is lower than 25.6 lakh crore, but the gross fixed capital formation number is higher. Similarly, the government final expenditure number is higher. Look at this. Then we have exports which have been projected as higher, 10.6. I don't know. Imports have been projected lower. It could be other way around. Who knows? Because we have been importing significantly of late. And if something goes wrong, if there is a petroleum crisis or something happens, this number is at risk. FY24, though, if you look at this growth number, it is 5.9% because from a reference point of view in FY23 Q4, this number is slightly higher, not as significant. Now, I think probably you have understood. Now, I am making this video a little longer because it is important to go slow by step. Otherwise, there is no point in reading the newspaper. You will not be able to understand anything about what is going on, right? Now, after having done that, let's do the following. Let's do an yearly estimate. So, when you do an yearly time scale, right? So, here also the yearly numbers are what? On the time scale of the first 16, actually there are not 16 years because you put whatever number you put, you will only get up to FY12 because that is the starting year, right? So you will see that here the GDP growth has been happening steadily. Then there was a bump down because of COVID and then it has steadily increased, right? This is clearly reflected from this. You look at these numbers, the growth numbers, yearly growth numbers of constant GDP. 5.5, 6.4, then it slightly rose, then FY17. So it was an organic growth which was happening very good. Then suddenly, even before the COVID, you will see that the GDP numbers actually came down and the COVID, it was very, very low, understandable. But the GDP did not come down only because of COVID. There were other reasons. You are well aware of it. Because of that, the GDP, the demonetization, other things which happened, which pulled down the GDP. And then, because of the low base here, look at this low base, you see a very large growth of 9.8%, which is because of the low base. It has got nothing extraordinary because if you could see the reference value of FY22, where the growth has been very high, and you compare with FY20, you'll find that hardly any increase has happened, but it shows a higher value because of a lower reference, which is compared with the earlier previous year. Then we have FY23. The FY23 is 160.7 lakh crores, which is compared with FY22. FY22 number is not that significantly higher, by the way, from FY20 because there was a dip and then we are slowly climbing up. So it kind of gives you a flavor of 7% growth. Now coming to FY24, which is 172.9 lakh crore, which is the projection of the government. And this projection is risky projection, as I told you. It depends on what? It depends significantly upon the government sector, not the private sector. See, look, the gross fixed capital formation numbers have been shown higher, the government final consumption has been shown higher, and then the exports number have been shown higher, and the import numbers have not been that significantly low. But though it is shown lower, they have been doing a very conservative projection, right? But if you don't meet this 172.9 lakh crore number, then meeting the 7.6% growth from the earlier year is going to be risky, right? So this is in nutshell that you need to understand as far as the GDP is concerned. There are many other things to be talked about because it will become too long of a video and I really don't want that video to be too long. So let's do the following because you already so almost 18 minutes have passed in this video. Let me do this. Let me do the projection part. The tool which I was talking about, the Python based tool, which is a web based tool. Let me do it in the part 2 of the video. Otherwise, what will happen? It will become a 40 minutes video. But before I close this video, let's do the following. Let's look at the GBA also. Because then I will not come back to this sheet again. I will only go to the web-based tool. Now, if you look at the GBA and if I do quarter, because that will give you the contribution of the various dimensions of the economy, you will find very interesting. And again, I've done the quarter level growth, quarter level time series, and you will find that the agriculture, again, very strangely, it's a kind of a step function down, right? It is higher in Q3, and then it goes down and till Q2, and then again, it's a very strange kind of thing, right? Manufacturing the absolute numbers have been round about the same. Though we have talked about PLI and other things, still the manufacturing numbers have not significantly gone very high. Look at this. Agriculture numbers are very erratic. It is going down. It's following some very strange kind of pattern. Manufacturing is almost stable. So where the growth is? Growth is from construction. See, the construction is showing a linear growth. And then we have got a trade, hotel and commerce. It's almost like linear growth on the high. So these are the two things. And then we have the financial services. The financial services have done very good. So, but in the last 2 quarters, the numbers have gone down, but doesn't matter because it is showing a similar pattern. Right? And then we have got defense, etc., other services, which is also showing it. So where we are lacking in agriculture, we are lacking in manufacturing. So all the initiative which the government of India is making on manufacturing is not showing dividend yet. It is clearly evident from these numbers, right? And therefore we have to be very cautious, right, on spending too much money on subsidies, on various kind of schemes, because if it is not going to give us that kind of dividend as far as our GDP growth is concerned, then the spillover impact on our economy is not going to be that remunerative. That is what we're looking at. We have to be very cautious about that, right? So look at and then when you look at the growth numbers speaks for itself. Look at the manufacturing sector, right? In some quarters the growth has been showing significant, in some quarters very minimal. So it's kind of because of the base factor. It has got nothing to do with. So don't get driven by the percentage growth number unless and until the percentage growth number is an yearly number where everything gets aggregated together on a yearly basis. The seasonal distortions are somehow evened out. So look at the yearly growth numbers and look at what are the risk of the yearly growth numbers which are being projected forward in time are going to get negatively impacted because of certain other projections which the government of India has made, which might be too optimistic, right? Which the government may not be able to deliver. So this is one. And then let's talk about one more thing which is very important in US dollar, which is also very important to look at. Now for US dollar, I can't use the GDP constant, I have to use GDP, nominal GDP, right? Now here also I will basically look at the US nominal GDP and then I will do a growth in USD. Now here you will find that though our constant GDP has been showing a stepped function, the GDP as far as the US dollar is concerned, let's see, if we go 16 quarter back in time, let's see what is the pattern that I see. Yeah, so there it is rising significantly, right? Then 32 quarters back in time. See, so this is a positive thing which I see, right? That our GDP in dollar terms is increasing, but not that significant. You look, rupee is increasing in a very linearistic pattern and the numbers are very high. But the dollar GDP is not increasing because you look at the FY22 Q4 numbers, $857 million on this quarter, and in the current projection is $908.2 million. And then we have got FY24 Q4 of 926. So these numbers are not that significantly higher corresponding to what the numbers which we saw in the earlier quarters. So this is a matter of concern, because if these numbers are not going to be very significantly high, then what will happen is that we will not be able to meet our projections also of the dollar numbers that we are talking about, the $4 trillion economy, $5 trillion, $10 trillion, right? Now these are the growth numbers. Now let's do an yearly, time series that will give us more insight what is going on. Now, if you look at the yearly time series, the growth numbers as far as the dollar GDP is concerned, you will find that it is roughly around. Let's look at these numbers. Around 6.8 to 7%. So our GDP growth in rupee terms is growing around how much? 7.7%. 7. What was the number? Let me just see again, because I don't. Just a minute. Let's look at the numbers so as to make sure that. So it's 7.6%, right? So now let's look at the GDP current dollar numbers. growth USD. So you'll find that it is 7.1. So almost similar, but it's lower compared to what our GDP the absolute rupee numbers are concerned. So we are doing roughly around 6 to 7%. So let's assume in an average 7%. Remember this number, because when I come back to the next tool of mine, which is going to give you the projection, because these numbers are going to be very, very important. Now, at the end of FY24, our economy will be $3.5 trillion economy, right? So what is the rate that we need to grow in order for India to become a 4 trillion or a $5 trillion economy? Those numbers we are going to answer in the next part of this series. We're doing 2 parts. We're already 25 minutes, so I'm going to close this. But since this is a very important thing, so I thought of spending time to make you understand. And let's now close this video, and I'll come back to you with the projections, where we are going to talk about what kind of growth that we have to continuously drive in order to meet our projected numbers of a $4 trillion, $5 trillion economy, because where the dollar value compared to rupee plays a very important part. And I'm going to extrapolate and do trend analysis, which you will see in the next part of this presentation. So thank you, friends, for your time. And I'll come back to you in today itself with the part 2 of the series as soon as I have processed this video and uploaded it. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and and let me know any other topic that you would like me to cover, and I'll be happy to do that. Thank you.